Hey guys, it's Kyle. Let's just call me Kyle for today because it's kind of a depressing day for me. You see, it's a friend of mine named David. We often play video games together all the time, and we argue and fight over how we should do things because he likes action and I like style, but we often brush past it and find a different way. It's nothing about me and him. It's more about him specifically. Yeah, often in school, he often had a bunch of ideas for creatures and background stories, but he often threw them away. But only 3 monsters actually managed to get into a little notebook that he carries around with him every single day in his backpack. He doesn't really pay that close attention to teachers, but it's not really my problem because it's his grades. Then one day, we went to GameStop together. We looked and browsed through 100 games, but one of them was different. One of them actually didn't look like the rest. It came in a little white packet and had a question mark on the disc. And on the back of it, it said EXE. Neither of us really knew what that meant, but we decided to buy it and asked the cashier how much it cost. He told me he'd never seen the game before, so he just let us have it. So we decided to keep the money we were going to use to buy a game and go to Subway. And then when we got home to try to play the game, the loading screen was terrible. So I decided to go on home. David decided to stay there and continue to play the game, or try to play the game. Doesn't quite work out. So again, I went home. But the next day, David was acting weird. He told me that one of the monsters was in his notepad, and it said it was going to kill him. I obviously thought that was the goal of the game, and I wasn't really that creeped out because that's the type of games we play all the freaking time. But this one actually worried him, because it actually addressed him as Daniel. It looked at him. It looked him in the eyes. Knowing that he typed the name Hero into his character, it continued to call him David. After he told me all this, I decided to go home and check it out with him after school. Of course, I still called it nonsense, but it started to address me too. It called me Kyle. It said I had the option to walk out the door, but I obviously didn't take it. I don't want to leave him behind. Leave David. Not like that. So I decided to stay in the same room with him and fight this thing. And then the wolf grabbed one of the villagers. It looked like a female. It bit her in the shoulder and then ripped off her head. Then we heard a scream coming from downstairs. Me and David tried to check it out, but he locked the door and said, the game's not over yet. So of course we had to stand there and play. Of course there were wolf monsters. Well, not just one wolf, but 1,000 of them, so we decided to run. We found a little village and hid behind a door. The wolf man had a different hostage. He looked smaller. A child. Guessing that was his little brother Jake. So I obviously said we should give up, and David expected treachery, so we brought out some weapons. When we all came out the door and decided to surrender, he actually let go of the hostage. I asked why he did it. He said he doesn't care about that. He only cares about David. So after all this was said and done, the game shut down. The door was unlocked, so we decided to go check it out. And what we saw, well, we couldn't find David. We couldn't find David's mom or dad, but we did manage to find Jake. He was lying down in front of the stereo. I was wondering what was wrong with him, so I decided to ask him, wake him up. He seemed perfectly fine, but he said he doesn't know anything about what happened. All he knows is he remembers his mom bleeding. I, however, only remember what happened to her, and I didn't want to say anything. So me and David decided to go look for his mom and dad. All over. The park, the school, the hospital, everywhere. Well, everywhere they could be. And then we gave up and decided to go back home, and that's when we found the TV. It was just static. I went upstairs, but David and Jake decided to stay down. And then they told me that the TV shut off. They told them we're waiting. I don't exactly know what that means, and I don't intend to.